Hey everybody, it's Tom Barnes. This is the Chicago scene virtually with my friend Adam. How you doing, Adam?
I'm really good, Tom. Thank you so much for having me on today.
And I downplayed it a little bit. Thank you for joining me. But I mean, you are a musician and you've done incredible things. You have a band called the Adam Ezra Group, right?
Hmm.
And you kind of cut your teeth here in Chicago, playing on the north side around Wrigleyville and Boys Town and all that kind of stuff, right?
I love the city of Chicago. It's where I grew up in Boston. I've always been a Boston guy, but when I was starting to play music, I had a really close friend, a guy named Rob Stone. He'd play out in a blues band called Rob Stone and the C Notes, and I would go out to Chicago. I would see him at Kingston Mines and Blues on Halsted and Buddy Guys, all those spots, and the Chicago music scene is so vibrant. Rob and his brother Jeff were both teachers at the time, and they said, "Adam, why don't you come up? We got this like closet in the back of our apartment. You can kind of live in there for a little while." And they got me a job as a recess guy at the elementary school, and I played out in open mics like 5, 6 nights a week all over the city of Chicago, which is so huge compared to Boston. And it was one of the first cities. I mean, it was where I started playing music, and it really it got into my soul and into my heart. It's really influenced me and impacted me over the years.
Yeah, I would say so. Again, I think downplaying just a tad because you've been going strong for a better part of 20 years. You hailed the
Yeah.
band hailed out of Boston, but you got your start in Chicago. But even more fitting for today, which we're actually talking on the anniversary of the pandemic starting, and not only the pandemic starting and everybody's journey that they have taken along that path. But then you started something with the culmination of releasing Switching to Whiskey, which is a song that you just had this following with all of your live streams because you started something called the Gathering series
Yeah.
a year ago today, right?
It was a year ago today, believe it or not. And this year has been, I mean, the worst year imaginable in so many ways, but also for me as an artist, an incredible and inspiring year. The first night we canceled our tour, I was supposed to be flying down to Clearwater, Florida to open up for Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes down there. I was so excited. They're one of my favorite bands in the country. And and I just they just declared it a pandemic. I felt I felt like it was crazy for me to be involved in an event that might be spreading this disease. And I called up Johnny and I said, "Man, I'm really sorry. I can't come down and play." I was home on a Friday night. On a Friday night, I mean, we're a band. Tom plays.
That never happens, right? Ever.
We play 200 plus dates a year. We are never home on a weekend, and I was home on a Friday night, and and I was never a live streamer. I liked connecting with people live. I liked being feeling the energy of human beings in the room, in the field, or wherever I was playing. But I went online. I just with my iPhone on selfie mode. I just live streamed, and hundreds of fans joined me. It was like 40 minutes of time where I didn't really wasn't thinking about performing. I was just thinking about being less alone for a little while. And at the end of it, I decided, you know what, I'll come back tomorrow night. You come back tomorrow night? And the next night, like hundreds more people showed up. And we called it the Gathering Series. We started calling it the Gathering Series. And tonight, believe it or not, is the 365th consecutive live stream. We have not missed a day for the entire last year at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So what is that? 6 p.m. your time in Chicago.
Yep.
We go live, and I tell stories. I play songs, and more than anything, it is just a consistent place to connect with community, to remind myself and for all of us that are part of the nightly gatherings, that that we're connected to others during this
Yeah,
time of isolation.
I was just reflecting a little bit on the anniversary, and I was just thinking about where we were. You know, we first it was this mad dash that everybody wanted to go get toilet paper and paper towels and
Do you remember
Lysol.
that?
And
Do you
yeah, it
remember
was
that?
nuts for like a
And
month and
nobody
a half.
knew. We didn't know how to use masks or
No,
what we're supposed to touch, how we're supposed to sanitize. We didn't know anything about the disease, and it was just scary.
yeah, one of the things that I feel that in the pandemic, a lot of people experienced what it was like to feel lonely for the first time.
Mm,
Maybe in forever, or maybe it was a regular thing for a lot of people. But the
mm,
one thing that I feel that the pandemic has given people this space to figure out what to do with that loneliness. And you started this
yeah.
live series, you know, and I like nosedived right into music again, just discovering new music with bands like yourself and songs that I've kind of forgotten about, bands I've forgotten about. And you've done this 365 days for a whole year, and you've done it. I mean, you had your own dealings with COVID, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I got sick in the middle of it. And I should just say too, Tom, I love what you're talking about, because to me, that loneliness is something that I've always had inside of me. It's one of the things that drives me to write music, to listen to music, to see art. It reminds I see other people's loneliness reflected in their art, and it helps me understand my own loneliness or whatever emotion they're trying to express or I'm trying to express. And so I completely agree with you that during hard times and important times, art is such a connector of the things that are so common between all of us, that we're all struggling with or living with.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, about 3 weeks in, 4 weeks into the live streams, I got sick. I live in Chelsea, Massachusetts, which is a city smushed right up against Boston. It has got a high population in a very small geographic zone, and just a very high poverty rate. So you just have a lot of people that are squished together in not great conditions, right? And of course, that became the hotspot of Massachusetts, and I got sick, and I was in bed during the days, but I'd pull myself up out of bed, and I don't want to be melodramatic about it, because really I was fine. I'm lucky. It did not get into my lungs. I did not have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
But I was not getting out of bed unless I had to for about a week, and
Wow.
or if it was time to gather. And some of those gatherings, they were short. Some of them got pretty short, because
I
but
bet you were probably gassed in 5 minutes.
I was pretty gassed. But
Yeah.
here I was experiencing this thing that we're all reading about on the news, and I just felt like it was an opportunity for me to just kind of sit up straight, press record, talk about what I'm going through. And it made it less scary for me, and I think it it made it, in a weird way, even though they were witnessing somebody being sick, it made it less scary for the gatherers, because it's like, oh, okay, he's sick, but he's talking through the things he's feeling, and he's okay, and he's going to gather with us tomorrow.
Right.
Good.
A sense of community within a time when we were isolated, which is
That's it.
it's a very weird thing to experience. And there's now a generation of all of us that have done it. But you did other things. I mean, besides getting sick and getting over it, which is great news. You got married in it too, and you still managed to figure out, you know what, honey, hold on, I got to go do this thing. You want to join me,
Well,
or you
I
want to sit
have
and
to
watch it?
now. I have to be clear, because honestly, if I had taken an hour out of my wedding to actually go in front of a computer, I am pretty convinced it would have been a pretty short-lived marriage. But what I did was, during the time, what we did was we started incorporating these. We have this incredible, as may not surprise you at this point, an incredible grassroots community of fans. So we did this series called The Gatherings Live, and we did these like pop-up guerrilla concerts in people's backyards, in
Yeah, you
public
did like over
spaces.
50 of them, right?
Yeah, we had a
Yeah.
whole army of volunteers that would show up on site before the show happened. We sold tickets by the square footage, so there wouldn't be too many people. We had space to social distance, and they would like spray paint socially distanced pods in the grass. So people would come in masked up and then they would find their safe space and they would, it was a massive
Incredible.
undertaking. It was a massive undertaking that was so inspiring because just, I mean, even playing for 30, 50 people in a backyard, I mean, it was emotional every night to
Yeah.
suddenly be with people again, you know? And so during that time, we knew that I was getting hitched. And I knew that if there was one night that I wanted to be completely present with Allie, my gal, it was going to be my wedding night. And so for the 2 weeks leading up to that gathering, we would record songs, I would record messages, I would tell stories. They were all songs that were inspired by Allie. And on that night of the gathering, two of my bandies hosted the gathering online and played all of the videos that we'd created over those weeks.
That's awesome. I mean, you listen, there are bands on all over the spectrum that have experienced the pandemic, and there are certain bands that had you haven't heard from, and then you've seen the other ones in between. But you guys, you like found it seems like you found this different way to connect with your audience that maybe you didn't even think was possible before,
No
because
idea.
right,
No idea. The
every
most
day.
the most unappealing concept I could have thought of a year ago would be to play a concert to a computer screen. Like I no, absolutely not. Not my art form. I'm sorry. But I have learned over this last year how deeply we are able to connect through these screens. And not only can we connect with other real human beings in real time, but we can connect with those human beings all over the country and all over the world in incredibly deep ways. It is certainly obviously not the same as being in person, but man, it has been the ride and the honor of my life to be a part of this journey that me and my gathering community has taken over the last 365 days.